Please note, this is not a tutorial on Cfop. It is simply an overview of Cfop and how you should learn it. If you would like to learn this method or parts of it, check the description for links to those videos.
Hi, and welcome back to Cfop Cubing. I recently made a video called How to Solve a Rubik's Cube with the beginner method, but that's the beginner method. It's easy to learn, but it's not very fast. There are a few better methods, and today I'm going to give an overview of the most popular one. It's called Cfop. The fastest cubers in the world use Cfop, but what's nice is that you can learn the steps with a beginner approach and then get more advanced later. I, like most cubers, use Cfop. In fact, my YouTube channel username is Cfop Cubing. I'm going to go over each of the steps of Cfop, but I won't teach you how to do them. Check the description for links to tutorials of each of the steps. Alright, so to start, why on earth is this method called Cfop? Of all names, why Cfop? Well, it's because each of the letters of Cfop stands for a step in Cfop. As you might guess, there are 4 steps. What are each of these steps? Let's get into it. The first letter in Cfop is C. The C stands for cross. You might remember from the beginner method that we solved the daisy and then the white cross. This step completely skips the daisy and goes straight into the cross. You can do this by matching the other color that is on the white edge with the same color center, like this, and then moving it down to the white center. You can do this with all of the edges, but just make sure that you don't break up the ones that you've already done. As you get more advanced with the cross, you can learn more tricks to be more efficient when solving the cross. One thing that you can do to improve your cross even more is being neutral color. Neutral color just means that you do not strictly use white as your cross. You can be more flexible and choose whatever color is closest to being solved. This may not seem very hard at first, but if you have a different color for your cross and you're not used to it, that means that the other steps will also have the colors you're not used to. Again, it might not seem very hard at first, but it's harder than you think. The faster you become neutral color, the easier it is, although I would not recommend learning it right away, as it isn't super easy if you've started with a white cross. Being neutral color doesn't help all that much, but it mainly helps you when, for instance, you have a 2-move green cross or something. Check the description for more about this step. The second letter in Cfop is F. The F stands for F2L. What does F2L stand for? It stands for the first 2 layers. Here F2L is completed. It has the first 2 layers down here all solved. It's basically just the corners and the edges. With the beginner method, we take 2 steps to do this. So first we solve the corners, then we solve the edges here like this. So basically, F2L reduces steps 3 and 4 into 1 step. The way we do F2L is we find a corner and an edge that need to go together, and we pair them up with a certain technique, and then we take that pair, we call it F2L pairs, and then we insert it in to the slot it's supposed to go into. It's kind of a harder step to learn, but it gets pretty natural after a while. You can get more efficient with your F2L by doing certain pairs more efficiently, and also doing overall tricks, like inserting a pair into the back slot. Check the description for more about this step. The next letter in Cfop is O. The O stands for OLL. OLL stands for Orient Last Layer. This is the last layer. This is what it looks like orientated. All of the yellow is facing up. So how do we get all of the yellow facing up? Well, with the beginner way, we only have to memorize 2 algorithms. These 2 algorithms you should already have memorized from the beginner method anyway, so there shouldn't be any extra memorization. We will start with one algorithm to get the cross like the beginner method. Next, we will do the next algorithm from certain positions to get the yellow facing up. Once you master beginner OLL, you can move on to 2-look OLL. It's called 2-look OLL because you have to look at the cube twice to see what case came up. You first have to look to see what you have to get the cross, and then you can look to see what case came up. So we can first make the cross, And then there are 7 cases that could come up, so you have to memorize all of them, but one of them is the other algorithm that you use for the beginner method and beginner OLL. So that is 6 extra. This one we can solve like this. Next, you can learn full OLL. Full OLL is when you look at a case and right from the beginning do one algorithm to solve it. It's like one look OLL. So that saves time, but there are 57 algorithms you have to memorize. 2 that you already know, so that's 55. Still, that's a lot. Although that is a lot, it's definitely doable if you're willing to put in the time. They aren't super long algs though, so that's good. This one is done like this. Take a peek in the description if you want to see how to do this step. The last letter in Cfop is P. The P stands for PLL. PLL stands for permutate last layer. Permutating the last layer is just moving the pieces around until the cube is solved. For beginner PLL, you need to memorize 2 algorithms. You don't use these algorithms in the beginner method, but they're not super hard to remember. The first one you can use to solve the corners. The second one solves the edges. You may have to do the first one up to 2 times though, and the second one up to 3. That's where 2-look PLL comes in. It's called 2-look because of the same reason for OLL. You look at the cube, and you do an algorithm to solve the corners. There's 2 things that can come up. One you have memorized already from beginner PLL, and the other one is a variation of that one. Next, you look at the edges. There's 4 things that could come up. One you already have memorized from beginner PLL, and the others are new. That's 6 algorithms in total and 4 new ones. After that, you can learn full PLL, which is like 1-look PLL, just like full OLL was. There is 21 algorithms that you have to memorize. 6 you should already have from 2-look. That's 15 extra. This particular one is done like this. Check the description for more about this step. Okay, so those are the steps, but how should you learn them? I would recommend the beginner cross first, because of 2 reasons. The first reason is because it's easy to learn. When you're learning a new method like this, you're going to want to start off small and get bigger as you go. The second reason is because you can actually use this step even when you're doing the beginner method. So instead of doing the daisy, you can just do the cross and then move on to the first layer, then the second layer and everything. So it will help you with your beginner method even though it's a step in Cfop. Next, I would learn beginner F2L because of the same reason I would learn the cross. You can do the cross and then F2L and then the rest like you would do the beginner method. From here, you can learn more advanced stuff in the cross and F2L, but I would recommend learning OLL and PLL because then you can get used to that as you're learning the cross and F2L. I would learn beginner OLL and beginner PLL at about the same time, just because you can't actually continue on with the beginner method once you learn one of those. So you couldn't learn OLL and then start going off there from the beginner method, because OLL is just getting all the yellow facing up, and that does not help you in the beginner method. Beginner OLL and PLL together is only 4 algorithms, and 2 of those you should already know from the beginner method, so it should be pretty easy to learn OLL and PLL together. Next, I would learn 2-look OLL and 2-look PLL. I don't think it matters which one you learn first, but I think that is a pretty good one to go for after you learn your advanced F2L. Next, I would learn full PLL, which is 21 algorithms, but it really helps you in your last layer, because then you can just do OLL and then immediately just do 1 algorithm to solve PLL. Then I would learn the more advanced cross, so that you can get a little bit better with that. Then finally, I would learn full OLL. The reason why I would learn full OLL last is because, 1, it's 57 algorithms, which does take a lot of time. Number 2, I don't actually think it helps that much, and the reason for that is just because 2-look OLL goes pretty fast anyway, and not all of the algorithms in full OLL are very easy. Once I learned full OLL, I didn't really see a huge time drop, and I think other people agree. Well, that's Cfop. If you want to get better at 3x3, I would highly recommend learning Cfop. I have links to videos in the description for each of these steps if they are out by the time you are watching this. Please like and subscribe if you haven't already. If you have any questions, go ahead and ask them in the comments. Share this video with all of your friends, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!